as I drop my phone. Thank you guys so much for coming out here to our first ever Supporters Summit, something we're really, really proud of. We'll talk about the reasons why we want to do this, why it's something we want to do going forward every single year. But before we get into that, I'd like to welcome in the two people who are going to be helping me host tonight. That is team president and owner Peter Trevisani, and your brand new head coach and technical director, Mr. Zach Prince. Come on up, guys.
Yeah.
These are your seats.
Oh boy, we're not. It's a United event. We don't sit.
You can stand. Yeah. Supporter section.
That's it.
All right. Well, welcome in, everybody. I want to start with a little bit of why we're doing this, right? And first of all, thank you to BIOS for hosting us here tonight. This is an awesome event. Couldn't have done it without them. This space. In case you don't know, there's beer in the fridge, also non-alcoholic beverages. There's wonderful food from Matucci's back there. And right after we do this, we're going to have a presentation from Alana. She's going to come up here and sell you some cookies. But before we get into that, we're going to talk about why we're doing a Supporter Summit today and why we want to do it every single year. So we're going to start with, number one, a Supporter Summit promotes transparency and inclusion, which is something that we've built this club on, something that's important to all of us, and allows fans to hear directly from the club about plans and goals for the season. I think that's important. Everybody wants to know. We've got a new head coach this year. We've got pretty much an entire new coaching staff. They're right behind you. We've got a lot of new players. We've got a lot of new stuff going on this year. So what's going on? What does that look like? Number two, it allows us to hear from you in much the same way. So what you're excited about for the season, what you have questions about, what you have concerns about. This is an open forum. We have these discussions between club and fans, and we're going to leave a big section at the end for your questions that were pre-submitted and ones that you just want to ask right now, and we're going to have questions for you all too. So that conversation is really crucial and really important. And that's number three right there. We want to ask you questions about what's worked in the past for fans, what's been good, what's been bad, how can we get better? That's the purpose of this entire thing. And then most importantly, allows us all to do what you've been doing for the last 20, 30 minutes or so, and that's get together. It's been a long off season. Well, it may feel like that way for some of us, and as we're preparing, it feels a little short too. But that's why we're here, because this is a family, and we're excited to get back together again. So welcome everybody in. So just talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to start with the why. That's from Peter Trevisani, right there where we can't see his name. Peter will be up first. Then we'll talk a little bit about what you can expect this season. That'll be Zach Prince. He's going to talk a little bit about that. We'll get to know some of our new players. We have 8 new players so far this season. Who's joining the black and yellow, as well as our new members of our technical staff. As I mentioned, a lot of them back there. I'm going to meet them. And then the Somos Unidos Foundation, Chanel Weesey, where are you? There's Chanel, Linnea is here as well, I believe. They're going to talk a little bit about what they're doing. And then that leaves a lot of time for questions for you guys, from you guys, back and forth. It's a conversation. So let's start with Peter, the why.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, David. A lot of great job. I can't wait to see you on Shark Tank. You're going to definitely get funded by that was amazing. Hey, it's awesome to be here today. I can't believe the season's right around the corner. And I'll just tell you personally, I feel just so excited and so grounded in this year. You know, it's such an important year for us in so many ways. And, you know, I think about the first year as this big year. No one really knew what it was going to look like. I definitely didn't. I don't think anybody in this room did either, but we all contributed and made it exactly what it was that year. And that's incredible that we got that year in. And then in 2020, I think we're going to actually look back about how proud we were of 2020. We just did what we could. No home games, and we still stayed together. And last year was such a funky year we had COVID, we didn't have COVID, restrictions, no restrictions, mask, vaccine. We just didn't know what it was. Then we had the stadium project, which really kind of took us out of, frankly, just took us out of our mission and really just created a bit of an overhang. And so this year for me, what I feel so grounded is just like getting back to basics, getting back to business, as we're saying, and really just moving forward in year 4 on our 100-year march. And so I thought it'd be a great time to kind of review the why. I think, and I just had David put together, I'm really technical in my graphs, as you guys can see. Yeah, a lot of numbers, data, hard to see. But you know, I'm gonna like go back to like 2018 when we started to talk about, hey, we're gonna bring this team to Mexico United here, and we're gonna have pro soccer. there were a lot of people that came up and said, oh my God, what a great idea. Like, this is a soccer town. There's so many soccer moms. UNM just got rid of their men's team. You're going to capture that whole audience. And I'd listen to them, and they'd give me all the reasons why this team was going to work. And I just, in my mind, I'm like, those were none of the reasons why we created New Mexico United. And I'm polite, so I'd think, wow, that's really awesome. I mean, I love that all those things, that we are a soccer town, and moms are great, and UNM not having soccer, that's something hopefully we can get back. But that's certainly not why we're here. And so, I thought I'd just do this thing, the what, the how, the why. And as you know, like, I didn't grow up playing soccer. I played football. You guys have heard that. I didn't grow up in sports and entertainment or branding and marketing. I probably did the opposite. I worked in finance, which is this kind of dull, boring business where you just focus on numbers every day. It's a little better than that, but for today, we'll do that. And one of the things I got to do in my previous work life was interview and meet a lot of companies. And I'd meet the management teams, and you talk about their vision and why they built companies. And so oftentimes when you'd hear about it, people would tell you what they do, how you do it, and then kind of like the why you do it. And that always seemed awkward to me. That always seemed that it was the wrong order of operation. For example, like, if we were going to start like a beer company, we might say, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to start a beer and beverage company. How are we going to do it? We're going to make a good beer, taste good. People are going to like it. We're going to have a good outside for our can color, and it's going to taste great. And we're going to do it because, we can actually there's good margin in beer, and we can make some money, and we can bring some people together. And when you kind of do that, I kind of sit there and be like, what about that really makes me want to, drink that beer? Or if you think about it in a soccer team, right? Hey, we're going to create a great soccer team, a beautiful soccer team, because we love soccer in New Mexico. How are we going to do it? Zach's going to build a winning team on the field. We're going to win a cup, and we're just going to win. And we're going to just get all these fans. It's going to be great. And we're going to do it because, there's not a lot of sports here, not a lot of entertainment. We can make some money, and we can have some fun things to do. And I think if we had approached it that way, I don't know, Clint, would you get a tattoo of a team if that's kind of what you heard, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I want to really buy a ticket to that. Maybe I would, but New Mexico United, and the reason why every single person is in this room right now is because we actually start with the why, and you start with the why. And for me, the why is simply this. Every single person in this room, we believe in New Mexico, and we believe in New Mexicans. That's the why. We believe in each other, and we know that we could do great things together. How do we do it? We come together in ways that people have never come together before in order to create positive change. That's how. That could be a soccer game. That could be this summit right here. It could be when we go to Jefferson Middle School and we have a clinic with the kids, and then we take the soccer balls and roll them in paint and kick them against some boards so it looks like a Jackson Pollock, and we cut them up into hundreds of pieces and create art over it, right? We bring people together, art and sport. We get people together that have felt disenfranchised. They haven't felt welcome or invited to anything. And we say, you're welcome to this, be a part of it. That's how we do it. And the what? Yeah, it's a men's soccer team. It's an academy, U19, a U23 team this year, down the road a women's team, but it's other things that are going to be outside of soccer. That's what we're doing here. That's the why, and that's why this only works when we all collectively believe and we all collectively go forward together. Yes, we want to win a cup, Zach. Zach's been mandated with that. He's the guy to do it, but it's just part of our mission, and that's where we're going. And I think that's ultimately the difference between fans and supporters. That's why it's a supporter summit. Fans, it's about maybe winning and losing. How do we do in that game? Supporters, it's about building something long term. And I want to give an example of that. Like, I want to kind of really hone in on that because it's super important as we get into year 4. I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions. You don't have to write them down, but just remember your answers in your head. They're not big stumpers here. But one, who won the MLS Cup last year? Okay, we're going to come back to that in a sec. Get your answer in your head. 2, who's the greatest soccer player of all time? Okay. 3, what's the greatest club of all time? Not team, but actually club. And then 4 is going to be, am I yelling too much? Is it 4? This one. Okay, we're going to call on Little Miss. 4, this is going to seem a little arbitrary, but bear with it. We're kind of making this up as we go along, guys. We already know that. But can you name your 8 great-grandparents? Do you know their names? Okay, just think about that for a second. Okay, so number 1, who won the MLS Cup? Who wants this?
NYCFC.
NYC. Okay. Anybody think somebody else won the MLS Cup? What's that? Cody Mizell got, okay, great. So we agree, right? That's in dispute. That's just, as fans of the game, it's about wins and losses. Like you have the MLS Cup and we know who won. It's not really, we really didn't have an impact in that, other than we might have supported Cody and cheered him on, but ultimately that came down to the players, the coaching, and what happened on the field. Who wants to take a crack at the greatest player of all time? Who's got? Daniel Bruce. Okay. I'll second that. Anybody else have a greatest player of all time?
Thierry Henry.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Another name? Another name? Pele. Okay. Why do you say Pele? Innovator. Okay. Great. Maradona. Why do you say Maradona?
He liked to party.
Wes, you're the right guy for the job. Any Messis in here? No? Or Ronaldos? The thing is, when we start getting into greatest player, you have these bodies of work, right? 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? We start to it gets a little more subjective. Pele, because he's an innovator. Maradona, maybe what he did to change a country and what he meant to the country. Could be someone who scored the most goals or had the most clean sheets. We have a little more like discussion because it's a longer range. What about who are your greatest clubs of all time?
Other than this one, it has to be the team that brings me the most pain, and that's Arsenal.
Arsenal, all right. Liverpool.
Manchester United.
Man, you. Okay. What do we got?
Well, when I was in the AYSO, I was on the Cowboys. I thought we were pretty good.
Byron. Why do you say that, Bruce?
They have such a heritage and they recovered after World War II. I agree with that.
Like that. I like that. That's it. And so, I don't know, for me, what I hear, like clubs, some of it's about winning, but mostly maybe it's about what they represent. It's about their longevity. All those clubs have been around a long time. They have a history. And the fans and the supporters over those long periods of time have had a huge impact on what that club is today. It's not because they have fancy jerseys or cool colors. That all helps, right? So as we kind of move into more like undefined areas, the range of what's great and what is not great really can change. And so this is, where I'm going with this, which is who here knows their 8 great-grandparents by name? I don't. Does anybody? You do? Okay. Good. Do most people? Who doesn't know? Okay. And I think the only hands that didn't go up are probably 5th grade teachers who work on the family trees. So, but that's really interesting, right? Just great-grandparents, not too far out. But here's the thing, and if we click to the next slide, is that, and just where I'm going with this, is we think about this club, as we talk about the why. I just asked the team to put together a picture that kind of represented the team. That's a great one. So most of us don't know our 8 biological great-grandparents. And guess what? Your great-grandkids, they're probably not going to know your name either, or my name, okay? Okay? But when your great-grandkid, I'll ask you this, one thing first. Who hopes that your great-grandkids will know what New Mexico United is and goes to a game? Will understand it, right? All of us. All of us have that hope and that aspiration. So when your great-grandkids who don't know your name see a picture of you in that crowd, they're going to know everything they need to know about you. They're going to know who you are, that you believe in New Mexicans, that you believe in New Mexico, that you believe in bringing people together, that there's power in that you're inclusive, that you're loving people who want to be an agent of positive change. They're going to know what you're feeling when a goal got scored. They're going to know what it looked like when the smoke bombs come off, because they're going to be there too, and they're going to be feeling all those things, same things. That's a connector that we're going to have, and they're going to know that just from seeing a picture and knowing what this club is about, because you, the individuals in this room, are the custodians of this team. You're the ones that are pushing that message out of what we're about, that it's about more than just wins and losses. It's about changing a state. And I think that in year 4, it's so critical this year that we take everything that we've built and we move forward and we make it beautiful. We don't just rest on everything we've done. We don't just say, oh, that was great what we did the first year, the second year. Every TIFO counts. Every chant counts. When people come and they give these chants and they're chanting in Spanish and they don't even speak Spanish, that changes them. That's a big deal. And so we have to think about, how do we lead? How do we take ourselves out of it? How do I take myself out of it as the owner? How do I take my ego out of it as the owner and let it be exactly what it needs to be? How do you take ego and yourself out of it as head of supporter groups or your communities and spread the love around? And so that we could push forward, so our grandkids, our great-grandkids are going to see a picture and know exactly who we are. There won't be any doubt in any of our mind. So I'm pumped for this year. Thank you guys for saying yes. Thank you for being here this year. We're doing it. That is the it. We're doing it. Here's the secret. The why. That is the it. The it is that when I say we're doing it, we're believing in each other. That's it. That's why I say it usually, and usually I say it louder when we win, but even when we lose, we're still doing it. So when you hear we're doing it, that is the it. We're believing in New Mexico. We're believing in each other. Let's go get it this year. Thank you.
Well, that's tough to follow. All right. Zach, you're up next. He's going to give us a little bit of what to expect from the season.
Well, thanks for saying that stuff to follow, David. I appreciate that. So, guys, first, thank you so much for coming here tonight. It means so much for me to be in front of you and to really talk to you about what I expect from the season and my expectations that I put on the players, on the staff, and so we're really transparent about that. And so what's important is you guys have heard over the past 3 years, you've heard hard work, humility, diligence. And you've heard this over and over again in any camp that we've gone to, any interview that's been happening. And so I thought about this for a long time and, looking at it and saying, is this something that I want to completely change? Is this something that I think our club needs to revamp? And what I came down to is absolutely not. This is the foundational piece of our club. So I thought, what is the addition to it? And so I read this quote. The quote up here is, vision without action is a dream, action without vision is a nightmare. And what that means to me is having a plan. Having a plan is crucial. It's critical. It's the first step of you being successful. But then not having action with that is what is the most critical point to it. But if you don't have a plan to that as well, and you go out on the field or you go out and try to plan a training session or whatever you're trying to do, if you don't have a plan to that, so they're very, very important that these two things come together. And so I wanted to be transparent with it and saying our action is a couple things this year. And the first thing is I want to be very transparent about, I want to bring New Mexico playoff soccer. Playoff soccer at New Mexico, at Isotopes Park, at the lab, for you guys to see, so you're not having to travel wherever we play our first round game, because I know you guys will be there. I want you to be in Isotopes Park, in your seats, in giving it to whoever we're playing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is a lot of what Peter talked about. Peter talked about getting back out in the community. In 2019, no doubt about it, we were there. And that goes with the players, that goes with the coaching staff, that goes with anyone that was involved on the technical side. And so saying that it was just, I mean, everyone knows we can talk about 2020, we can talk about 2021. Personally, I'm over talking about that. What I want to do is start to move forward and start to have, as much interaction like this as we can have at the right points and at the safe points, but making sure that we're doing it and we're getting out in front and having that human connection. That's important to me. Not just having something where you see the guys on the field and you don't know them. If you want access, if you want to get to know these guys, if you want to get to know myself, if you want to get to know this coaching staff, it's important that you guys have access to that. So saying that, that's the action that we're talking about. I'm not afraid to say that I want playoff soccer in New Mexico. I'm not afraid to say that I want this club to win. I think it's great that we are an agent of positive change. I tell the players this. I told them this. When you're an agent of positive change, a way to be more successful in being a positive change is being successful. You have more clout. So if we're successful, if we're in the top 4 constantly and pushing, knocking on the door for the Western Conference, we're pushing in playoffs and we're doing those types of things, making Open Cup runs, having you guys travel on chartered planes to Minnesota United and FC Dallas playing all over the country, and you guys having more fans than the Colorado Rapids. It's incredible. It's incredible. Having a home game at Colorado Springs, and it's more fans than they had in years going to that game. So saying that, what's important about that is for us to hold up our end of the bargain, for us to be successful on the field. So
Move on to players.
Yeah. I want to talk to you guys about a few, if you want to just go ahead and click through, you can click through them as we go. Yep. I want to talk to you guys about some new additions that have come on. All you guys that have come back in. A player that I do want to talk about, you're going to see him in a little bit of a different role this year, and I think is a really important reason why I brought that player back and wanted to really change the way that we're dominating games in the middle of the field. Sam Hamilton, most of the time you've seen him play, more of a defensive role. His role will be more in the middle of the field this year, and really like his athleticism to be able to go and get around the game, and not only that, his leadership capability is top notch for us to go and take a step forward in the middle of the field and really make us have a presence there, and I think that's critical to us. So getting into our new players, Alexis Suahi, French. He's grew up in France, but he's Comoros international. He is a center back that I brought in for a couple different reasons. First, his play is exceptional. You'll see him on the field, very big, very clean on the ball, but also at the same time, he brings a winning mentality. The guy's been at Louisville City, won a few championships there, and that's important to me to bring in proven winners that know what it takes to go and take that next step for our club. Second guy here, he hasn't joined us yet, Ratty. He is from the Congo. He's the best left back from the Ghanaian Premier League over the past 2 seasons. Very, very excited to bring Ratty into camp. Should get in camp in the next 7 days or so. Hopefully sooner than that we'll get his visa work done, but it's coming close. And what he brings that I can't wait for you guys to see is athleticism. His athleticism is off the charts, but on top of that, his final delivery, final pass is top notch. So he's going to create a lot of chances for us this year. Will Seymour, if you remember Reno, very successful club. He played defensive midfield for them, and then he moved and went to Ireland and played in the Irish Premier League for the last 2 seasons. He went to Oregon State. Phenomenal player, phenomenal person. Another guy that adds more athleticism to our group while not sacrificing his on-the-ball skill. He has an ability to cover ground and make sure that we have a presence that we just haven't had over the last couple years. Keep going. This kid right here, I cannot wait for you guys. If you haven't met him yet, I believe he was at, where are you at, Chris? I believe he was at the event the other day, right? This kid, he might not speak great English in front of you, but if you get him going, I'm telling you, he's there. He's a Haitian international. He's 19 years old, 6'2", but on the ball, this kid is unbelievable. And, he's already starting to make strides where he is For a 19-year-old, where I was at when I was 19, not even close to where this kid is at. So I'm very excited, not only about him right now, but about his potential. Justin Portillo, I've known Justin for a really long time. He's won championships in this league. He's played in the MLS for a number of years. I played with him, actually. He's a couple of players I've actually played with on this team. Him, Mike Azira, and Alex Tambakis, we all played together at Charleston Battery. And so I knew this guy's character. His ability to go and win and lead is exceptional. His on-the-ball skill is one of the best center midfielders in this league, and his delivery from set pieces is top-notch. Preston, or Tabor Tataka Preston, I call him Preston. What a personality this guy is. Chris, I mean, unbelievable personality, and his personality meets exactly what his playing style is like. Extremely explosive, loves to score goals, loves to be in the box, loves to create chances, likes to play the final pass. His ability to be in and around the goal and create and cause nightmares for the opponent is going to be fun to watch for us this season. Jerome Kieswetter, you might remember him. Scored a few goals against us when he was in El Paso. So I had the opportunity to speak to Jerome. He came to us in a trade, and with Jerome, his mentality is top notch. As we know, he's played for the U.S. national team, which was a great highlight in his career. But this guy right now, at his age, he is pushing so hard to be the best he can be. And he adds a different dimension as our other nines. His dimension as a 9 is exceptional. I don't know if there's a better player inside the post. When I mean that, like when he gets inside the box, if it comes into him, it's going on frame hard. So I'm excited about him. Lastly, Nico Brett. Nico Brett joins us from Birmingham Legion. I've watched Nico for a long time now. He's an All-American in college. He comes to us, and honestly, working with him over the past, he's been with us about 10 days now. One of the top pros I've worked with. Incredibly hardworking, incredibly responsible with his body to make sure that he's performing at the top level. And this is a guy that's going to add just a diversity to our attack to be able to attack in different ways. That leads us into these guys. So these guys back here, technical staff, if they only knew, if you guys only knew how much time I spent trying to get these guys here. Unbelievable how much of a pain in the ass these guys were getting here. Sorry to say that, but I mean, holy smokes. And that starts with Mac Hemme. He's the first assistant, and come up here, Mac. And Mac, yeah. Mac comes to us native of Tokyo, Japan, but also a native of Carlsbad, New Mexico. Yeah. So what's interesting about Mac, and I'll tell you a little story about each one of these guys. Mac, at 16 years old, moved from Japan to Carlsbad, New Mexico. Tokyo, one of the biggest cities in the world, to Carlsbad, New Mexico. So not only did he move from there, didn't speak any English, so when we're talking to players that are, Carl or Ratty that's coming in, this guy has firsthand experience of what that feeling is like, the insecurity of that. And so him talking to these players is firsthand experience. So when we met, we played PDL, the U23 league that's coming in for us. You bring in the best college players in the country, and we played for the Colorado Rapids U23s. And I met Mac, and we hit it off, and went our separate ways, and he played at the Colorado School of Mines. But before that, he was at UNM. And he was at UNM and uneligible for transferring stuff from Tokyo, so he had to go to Colorado School of Mines. And amazing experience for him, but he became the associate head coach for Denver University, and we were always in constant contact. Aiden Selmsberger, that was with us, Mac recruited him to go to University of Denver. Number 3 recruiting class in the country last year. This guy is top notch and adds so much to our coaching staff. So please, guys, give it up for Mac. Junro Narita. So Junro, give it up for him. So Junro also comes to us from Japan, right? Osaka, Japan. And what's interesting about Junro is Junro also has a Japanese New Mexican history. So interesting with these two. He started and played at a junior college in Washington, and then came down and transferred to UNM and became an All-American at UNM. Top-notch forward here, amazing guy. Where I met Junro, I met him last year when he was coaching for Austin FC. He started the academy at Austin FC at the MLS level. We started talking, and really when I got this position, he was the first person I thought of when it came from being the bridge from the academy into the first team, and really making a special environment for those guys, and then also making it special for the first team guys. And when those players come from the academy to the first team, he has all the individual priority plans that they have and how they're going to be successful, how they're going on to college, if they're signing pro contracts. He's a lot of the work that that goes through that. And so saying that, having a guy like Junro on our staff is incredible from the sense of making sure that these academy players have the right environment, the right professional environment, to make sure that this is not offered anywhere else in New Mexico, and we're making it where it's not offered anywhere else in the country as well. So an interesting fact about Junro raises money for an orphanage in India, and Junro ran from Bernalillo to Santa Fe, dribbling a soccer ball for the first 10 miles, and ended up raising how much? $20,000 for an orphanage. And so that shows you the care that this guy has, not only for New Mexicans here, but also for just people around the world, and giving these academy players this type of experience and this type of person that's going to lead them is so important. So thank you, Junior. Nate Walzer, give it up for Nate. So what's the story of how you stay connected with people in soccer, just as me and Mac have known each other for 12 years. I moved to Portland, Oregon. I retired playing, done playing, moved to Portland, Oregon, started to get into coaching. First person I meet in Portland is Nate Walzer. So we worked for the same club together, a tiny little club in the east side of Portland, which now has expanded to be the biggest club in Oregon. And it's just so funny to see where your career goes and how it gets connected back. So Nate, after about 2 or 3 months, couldn't stand me anymore, and then left and took a job in North Carolina. So he was a head goalkeeping director for NC State, an assistant coach at NC State, and then left there and went and became the first assistant at Charlotte Independence for the last 3 years. So me and Nate have stayed connected over this time. I called him in the offseason, and out of the three, I will say, guys, Nate was on board so quick, man. He was so quick. So I was so glad to get him on board, and man, it's incredible because he's not only working with the first team goalkeepers and Alex, but he's also working with Andreas, Evan, and Q in the academy, and these kids are getting top-notch work from this guy. So guys, give it up for Nate Walzer. Lastly, Luke Sanford, he's not here tonight. He's actually moving his family currently. He's been in New Mexico for about 3 weeks or so, and he's moving his family here. He's going to be our head coach of the academy and also our head coach for the USL2 team. Nate has been the head coach the last 3 years of one of the most successful franchises in USL League 2, Mississippi Bria. And so saying that, Luke is such an important piece. So giving you a little story about Luke. Luke was applying to be one of the assistants for the first team. And I had already talked to Mac, Junro, and Nate and kind of down the road with these guys, but this guy would not stop calling. He would not stop. He was so persistent, wanted to be a part of it, knew how special this club was. So I talked to him. I said, listen, man, this is the role I have. And he was on a flight the next day. please, let's get this done, showing me what his worth was. This guy is top-notch and such a big addition to our club. And so as far as the coaching staff, that rounds it out. But I want to talk about one last guy here, James Salazar. Come on, James. So James started with us in 2020, correct, James? Right at the beginning. And he started with us in equipment manager role, and he was really Brandon Morris's assistant. And James absolutely came in and crushed it right away. At the end and started back in 2021, did a phenomenal job last year. And then with Brandon Morris taking a vice president role at a different club, Louisville, there was an opportunity open. And I talked to him and said, James, listen, here's the deal. If we make it through, this could be a chaotic period. It's just going to be me and you, pal, because I didn't have these guys. It was just me and him. I said, this is going to be a chaotic period. And if we can get through this, and if you can dedicate yourself to getting through this, and you can prove yourself, job is yours. Done. God done a hell of a job, man. Well done. So, is that it?
Yep.
So, guys, lastly, I'll just say thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to get started. I'm excited about the Northern Colorado game for you guys to be able to come out. I think we have, 500 or 600 people that's allowed at that game, but really, I can't wait for opening night. Sunday night, no one else is playing in the USL, just us, all eyes on us, and I don't shy away from that. I love it. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Zach. So I want to talk a little bit about kind of our trajectory over the 4 years going into the fourth year of our existence here. Talk a little bit about 2019. A lot of you guys remember 2019. I think most of you guys were there. Not everybody, but most of you guys were there. We came in guns blazing. It was exciting. We set attendance records for a new club. We went to the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup. We chartered an airplane to Minnesota, and we went to the playoffs in our first season. It was an incredible year. And then 2020 came, and we were road warriors. These guys went on the road for every single game. The only soccer team in the world, that didn't play a home match in their home state for the entire season. The only one. And they won their first ever playoff game. It's the definition of grit and the definition of being a New Mexican. 2021, we're back to the lab. It's exciting again. We have limited capacity, and you guys are loud. You're excited. You're doing everything you possibly can to get us, to will us to victory every single time. And now we're back to 2022, and we are on full blast again for the first time in 3 years. And that is... It's exciting, right? It's exciting. It's also responsibility for every single one of us in this room and everybody who's not here too. And in 2019, we set that standard across the league, across the country, for being the best fans in the country, for having the best atmosphere in the country, for all of these things that we did for the first time in 2019. We set this incredible standard. And now it's incumbent upon every single person in here to do better in 2022. We need every single one of you to be able to do that. We can't do it individually. Pete mentioned earlier, putting our egos aside. It's not about any one of us individually. It's about us collectively. That's what this club has been built on from day one. And so I say that to say, I need every single one of you. Pete needs every single one of you. Zach needs every single one of you. These guys need every single one of you to be there, to be your best self, to support this club and support this community with everything you have. So, with that, speaking of the best that we have, the Somos Unidos Foundation. Chanel Weesey, Linnea Romero, David Estrada, they are a team of just three doing incredible things in our community, and I'm going to turn the mic over to Chanel a little bit.
I'll get him an intern.
As I'm looking around, I see donors, volunteers, community partners. You all know the work that we're doing with the Somos Unidos Foundation and the way that we want to dream big. But I think to kind of piggyback off of what Peter, Zach, and David were saying too, I wanted to share something that I actually heard this morning in a podcast and that, my team of three and I are going to be talking about soon. And it was this conversation that I heard on Brene Brown's podcast with Professor Jen Wright, who was talking about how when you are an activist, he was talking about individuals, and you look at oppression, or like in New Mexico, you look at being top of the bad list, bottom of the good, and that seems like the only thing that you can talk about, and that's the only thing that you can focus on. But what he was saying is like the power of imagination, something Peter has told all of us, and the power of whatever magic is in the shield, right? To say, how do you go beyond your given circumstances right now? And that's as an activist or as an individual, but now we're talking about the whole organization. So how do you dream big or give other people the permission to dream big? And that's what really, like, when you look at the academy, you look at the diversity fellowship program, you look at even like a single community clinic. That's exactly what we're trying to do in leveraging what the shield has meant to all of us and sharing that with people who haven't had access to it before. So that means while we also try to decrease barriers, increase access, we're also just trying to write a big permission slip to dream big and look beyond what we even thought was possible. So I just kind of wanted to share that with you all today. I mean, you can see creating accessibility. We obviously believe that soccer belongs to everyone, whether that means if you're dreaming of working in soccer, dreaming of being a coach, dreaming of signing an academy contract, dreaming of being the next Christian Nava. Everything we do has that access really tied into it. And just know that in our efforts to do that, it's always an open door for anybody to come alongside us, pick up the broom and help us, push forward. So I think that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Really great to see everybody again. Thank you.
I really encourage everybody to reach out to Chanel.
I'm going to get you an intern.
The work that she and David and Linnea are doing in our community with just 3 people is absolutely incredible. So if you're interested in being a part of something that's much bigger than soccer, please talk to Chanel, talk to Linnea, talk to David. They're doing incredible work. I talked a little bit about this before, but that's Oma. She's awesome. But we built this together, right? We have such a responsibility this year to do something incredible. We can show the world again, like we did in 2019, that New Mexicans are someone to be reckoned with. People don't believe us. We have the opportunity to show them that. And again, I challenge you all to do that this year. To come to the matches, obviously, that's great. But spread the mission of New Mexico United, which is so much more than soccer and so much more than each one of us individually. In 2019, the Lab was the most difficult place to play in the USL. Let's make it that again. Let's make it the most tough place to play in the entire league, in the entire country. Let's make teams fear to come here, what Zach was talking about earlier. We did it in 2019. We did it in 2021 at limited capacity. There's no more limited anymore. It's just us. We're going full blast. Now the part that we'll spend the most on, if you guys want to come back up, Coach Pete. Questions.
Hey, Coach,
we have questions for you. We have questions from you. Some people submitted questions ahead of time, so I can start with those, but feel free to raise your hands at any point, and we can go ahead and get started. You guys ready? Pete, the first one is for you. This was pre-submitted. What are the plans to continue pursuing a new stadium? You knew it was coming.
I should have read the debriefing. Yeah, we're doing it. We're gonna get a stadium, right? We need a home. We need a place to play. So while the plan we had from last year, didn't go through, it was a setback. I actually honestly feel we had to go through that process to get to where we needed to be, and so we're gonna build a home. Right now, I'm just looking with a few other people at what are some viable sites. Where are a few places that want to have a stadium and that we want to be at, and then we're doing some, we're just going to take it from there. It's going to be a long process. I've actually, I'm at the point where I realize it's not going to happen in a day. So just let's make a little bit of progress, little by little, and we are. And while we're talking about the stadium, I do want to give a shout out to Bruce Farmer, who's done some amazing work on stadium designs. He threw the Meow Wolf robot in on the stadium, and Bruce has been awesome. He's done so much stuff. He's done it from with his heart. He's done it for gratis, really, and really appreciate your passion because it comes through on your designs. And so at the end of the day, we are going to build a home. We need a place to play. There's no doubt about it. We're going to get it, and I just trust that's going to happen. And we're going to put in all the work that's required to make that happen.
And speaking of building things, Zach, you want to talk a little bit about the training facility, the new locker room that's pretty much getting close to done at Mesa del Sol?
Absolutely. So a part of the action that I've talked about, Pete's put in place immediately, and that's building a home for our team to train every day. And the training facility is top notch, and the locker room, the offices, the training room, physio room, the film room, top notch in this league, top notch with some MLS teams and so we are so excited about that. We're so excited to give you guys a sneak peek, hopefully coming up really soon. And that should be completed in the next few days. And then the shell comes in 2 weeks. So we'll be in there. So we're so excited right now.
In that facility, as Zach mentioned, that's the home for our first team. Obviously, our academy matches are at, you've all been to Mesa del Sol. You know where that is. And then we had a little Pete leaks earlier. The U23s aren't happening this year. So there you go.
That's why you invite me to these things.
We haven't announced that yet, Pete. Thanks.
We're doing it.
So yeah, that's going to happen. We'll announce that soon, and you can all act surprised. Yeah. But anyway, so we'll have U23s. We'll have academy. We'll have first team.
Tell them where they're playing.
Everywhere where they're playing. Pete said, tell them where they're playing. They're playing everywhere. We're playing our home matches around the state, which is going to be really awesome. So that means we'll have a home match in Albuquerque, and that'll be awesome. But it will be really cool to see if you guys can come with us and travel to places like Taos and Gallup, all over the state. We want you guys coming with us. It's going to be really, really awesome.
So with the 23s, what's important to understand about that is that this is our top academy players get to play in this, but really as well, we get to recruit from all around the country. And we get to bring in players from all around the country to come in here and see a lot of them are going to be in college. So some college players that come in, they live in Albuquerque for 2 or 3 months. They have the experience that's where I met Mac for those types of experience. They get to, the best players from that get to train with the first team. So you start to see, we're really trying to build something that starts from, a younger age, and then that middle years where the Wiley Trujillos, the Gabe Legendries, these types of players that have left and gone off to college, they're at, Gonzaga, Fort Lewis, all around the country. Now they get to come back and they have a place to play in the summer. So we're really excited about bringing those guys back, and then also bringing some talent in from outside the country.
Yeah.
And just a little bit about the format on that. They'll play in USL League 2. And then in addition to that, kind of the way that we're going to do it, and we're still working on getting the schedule put in place. Ron Patel back there is a big part of making that happen. It's a short season,
Ronnie.
USL League 2. We'll play over the course of a few weekends at home and a few weekends away. It's only, about 2.5 months, Ron? Around there. So please, take advantage of that. It's going to be really, really fun, but it's a limited time kind of thing. We'll do it, obviously, not just this year, but it is a very short season. So hope you guys have fun with that. It's going to be a blast. The next one to come in, Zach, speaking of other competitions, is Open Cup. People asking about that. Obviously, we're hosting a match for the first time, which is incredible and exciting. Somebody wanted to know a little bit about tactics. Are you gunning for the cup? Are you playing starters? Are you playing reserves? All of that kind of stuff.
And who's our opponent going to be?
So it's either Las Vegas
Legends, not Lights.
Yeah, that's right. And the Park City Red Wolves, they're part of League 2 as well. So it's either one of those two. And what's important to know about those matches is you can't overlook those matches. They're extremely can be extremely difficult matches. And what's important to know about that is we take that match just as serious as we take the FC Dallas match. So saying that, starting lineup, whatever that means to you guys, we're going to put the most competitive lineup to go and win the game. And so that's important for you guys to know. And second on that, I've been to the quarterfinal as a player twice. When I was training with the Battery when I was in college, I trained with the team, the last USL team, to make the final. They made the final. They were up 1-0 on DC United and ended up losing 2-1 late in the game. So what's really cool about that is it can't happen. It's difficult, 100%. The first game is going to be difficult. The last game is going to be difficult. But what's important about it is it can happen. Is that puts you in a place to go and compete internationally against CONCACAF teams, and that's a really special place and a really special conversation to be in. So will we take it seriously? Absolutely. And we look at it like whoever wins that is the best team in the country. and that's the way we look at that tournament. So excited about it.
Guys, feel free. I'm going to keep going with the pre-submitted questions, but if you have questions, raise your hand. Robert?
Tickets for the game.
For the Open Cup match?
Yes.
Yeah, I can talk to you a little bit about that one. We are in the process right now of getting the venue secured and the date finalized from the U.S. Soccer Federation. Once we have that finalized, tickets will go on sale. Most likely looking like UNM is where we're going to play that match, so that means tickets are going to be limited, probably around 5,000 seats. So it's going to go quick. So make sure you get in there quick when they do go on sale. We just need to figure out the date and the timing and all that kind of stuff. So it's that first week in April, either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. We just need to get that date finalized from the Soccer Federation. Cool. All right. Little Miss.
In the first year, we had so much access to the team and staff. How can you top that this year?
Did you hear the question, Zach?
I did.
All right.
So, hard hitters. All right. So listen, this is so important to me. It's important to me to get back to that. And what's important about that is I know what it looked like. I know what happened. I was there. And so it's not something that I'm trying to recreate from some Instagram video that, you know, Josh Lane is making look incredible. I was actually there. And so knowing what that interaction was like this interaction we're having right now, is incredibly important for us to get back to that and making sure that we're having more of those. Of course, we're going to be safe. We want to keep everyone safe. We want to do these at the right times, the right distance, all those types of things. But at the same time, we have to move forward. And moving forward means going back to that. And so it's important to me to get back to that as it is to win games. And so I'm excited about getting in front of you guys and you guys meeting the players because they're exceptional personalities. So I can't wait for more events like this to happen. Anything more on that?
No, that's great. You know, I actually just want to take a second. That's great, Zach. And yeah, we're immersive, right? We want to break down the barriers, and we're going to basically want to get everybody in this room as close to kicking the ball without kicking the ball, right? Because we want to win games. So yeah.
What do you say?
But you know, just very quickly, you know, we mentioned staff, and I know Zach brought up his coaches. You know, I know you guys already know this, but I just want to say it, that we also have staff that aren't part of the technical staff that work so hard, that really they believe in the why. They don't come from sports, and a lot of them are here right now, so they're all in the periphery. But we've got Jules, who came through our diversity fellowship program, heads up events. Josh Lane, who's our director of marketing. Lucas Cash. Guys have heard a lot from Lucas. Clint Gray, Ron Patel. Sam, are you in the back? Is that Zach next to you? Zach in ticketing, just moved here from Louisiana. Happy to have Steph, who does an amazing job in our retail. We've got Tori, who works with Dez in our front office. We've got Linnea, thank you. I'm like blind, who works with Chanel on the foundation. We've got Rob on social media. We got, so, you know, if you Snapchat with Rob, he'll send you a t-shirt, right? 100 in the streaks. We have Chanel, who you heard from, who runs our foundation, does an amazing job. They're always behind the camera, so you don't get to see their face. Isaiah, dead center, amazing human being. David Young, can't hide over here. Awesome. We got Anna, who's been working with us. We brought our retail from, we've been using a third-party sports franchise. Did an amazing job for us because 2019 swamped our tiny boat on retail. We've been able to bring it back in-house, create some of the jobs that some of the people you saw today, and just have New Mexicans be packing every box for New Mexicans. So it's amazing. David Carl, who has done such a great job. Who did I forget? This is how.
You said Clint.
We said Clint. We don't forget Clint. Anyway, that wasn't the question, but I really look, these people. I'll just tell you, they aren't here for the job. They're here for the mission, and I could just promise you that. I know you get to see it, and if you don't, just trust me. They are here to make an impact, just like each and every one of you guys, and it goes way beyond just a job. So thank you, all of you guys, for everything that you're doing.
Thanks, Pete. And it's a really good question, Robles. You talk about access, access to players, access to staff, access to the team. Stuff like this is important to us for that reason. One of the other things that, I'll do a little David Leaks here, we're going to start doing what we did in 2019, which was Coffee with Coach, which was this awesome tactics session that we got to do a few times a year. We did it, I think maybe 3-4 times throughout the season, where the day before, or a couple days before the match, Coach essentially has a PowerPoint presentation, what he's going to be presenting to the players, scouting report for the upcoming opponent, and Coach sits down, we all have coffee, we all talk about what's coming up. That only happens, it's a matter of trust. And Zach, you want to talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. I think this is something that we got feedback from that you guys really enjoyed, and you guys really enjoying that means if we have time for it, 100% we're going to make time for it. And so saying that, I like you guys to know our game plan going into it. Am I going to give you every single detail? That would take way too long for us with every little detail of every little player, but I'm going to give you guys our strategy of how we're going to go and break down the opponent, how they're going to try to exploit us, how we're going to negate that, and how we're going to go and exploit them. And so I think that's important for you guys to know, and also it gives you it allows you to see the pictures that we're trying to paint on the field, and I think that's really cool. So anything that you guys have enjoyed, or any new ideas that you have, I'm always open. Talk to David about it, and we'll try to make it happen.
Cool. Yeah, please. Shall we see everybody?
Something exciting. So, also when we think about access, and I know many of you are always filling your bingo cards for all the signatures you're going to get and all the players you're going to meet. I just have one favor to ask you. So under the leadership, obviously, of Junro and Luke, we saw we have a new head academy coach, but David Estrada is still very involved in the academy. He just actually received his B license.
Woo!
But what I know would mean a lot to him, and the one bad thing I'll say about David Estrada is that there's only one of him. And so he's really imprinting that community first thing that we know has been part of his work here since day one. He's imprinting that on the academy team. And that's 25 more young players who play for the Shield, that if you all will continue to just embrace them and adopt them as your own and get their signatures, I know that that's going to be like the extra juice for them to go win their very own cup, like they almost did last year. And also stay in school and do all of the other really important things that we are working on them with. So that was just in terms of access. If you could also help us make sure they feel welcome into this family. They're serving as role models now for a 10-year-old. That dream is now 5 or 6 years away, as opposed to the, Devin Sandoval maybe like a decade away. So I just wanted to add that to the access.
100%. Absolutely. All right. Next question. Zach, red or green?
I'm more green than I am red. I do enjoy red. But I will say this. When I go to a restaurant, I do ask how hot it is. Because sometimes I can't handle it. I'm transparent. I told you guys. I'll tell you the truth. So I had a bad experience one time with some pizza, and oh my God, that lit me up. But it's excellent. My favorite dish with green chili, Modern General, they have a dish called the Albuquerque Scramble. Excellent there. Green chili in it, eggs, all peppers mixed up. It's incredible. So check that out if you get a chance.
You can take the boy out of South Carolina, but you can't take South Carolina out of the boy.
That's right.
All right, Pete. Will the team work with the city and metro area to allow for mass transit to games, like the Rail Runner, ABQ Ride, Art Bus, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, of course, we want to work with everybody that wants to try to, push forward, and mass transit is certainly a big part of that. And, I think that anything that we can do to support it, we will. I love it when I see, people taking a bus or figuring out how to come together. When I think about a new stadium. I'm like, do we really need 3,000 parking spots? We need an area to tailgate. We get that. But, how else can we get there? How else can we get there? Let's think about it in a new and novel way, and let's not just fall back on the way we've done it. Let's figure out a new way to do it.
And sticking with the parking conversation, will there be prepaid parking available again this year?
Will there?
Ticket guys? Yes. Ron gets thumbs up.
All right.
All right.
Just so you guys know on the parking, look, UNM is great. They allow us to use their parking lots. They set the price on the tickets. They run the parking lots. We've actually added the bathrooms and the porta potties on top of that because we realize people are out there for a long time, and so we need to do that and take care of each other. And so we're really thankful they let us use the the spots, and that money obviously goes primarily to UNM and hope support their programming. So that's where we are on the parking. It's going to be all digital this year, so yeah, no cash.
And that's in. That's another thing. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Isotopes Park is switching to a cashless model as well this season. Just be aware of that. It'll be on a credit card or your phone or whatever. They are not accepting cash anywhere in Isotopes Park this year. Just so you guys know that. Yeah. I don't know if they're gonna do those reverse ATMs or not. What's that?
Is it gonna be like Colorado Stadium where you can just order as many drinks as possible?
I don't think so.
Priority.
Come to United Deck, Wes. We'll take care of you.
Yeah, just stock up with 10 drinks before the game starts, man. You should be good.
I don't know. Like when we went to that Colorado match, it was like I can just order drinks. They don't know how shit-faced I am.
Yeah. Don't drive. That's what Ubers are for. Working on. Oh, by the way, we had a meeting with supporters group leadership about a month and change ago, and one of the things that they brought up that I'm working on trying to get done with the Topes is a specified Uber and Lyft drop-off lane. I think it'll be really helpful. We need that, so I'm trying to get that done. Working on it. I'll let you guys. I'll update you guys when I get that. Bruce.
I will tell you, anything we design will have a shared ride-share lanes and parking.
Love that.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. Thank
Yeah.
you, Bruce. Billy, you've had your hand up for a while.
So it was a shock to me that Troy was leaving. So I want to ask you two both, when Troy said he was leaving, what was going through your head? And then when you got brought on, what were your first thoughts?
Who wants to take it first?
I'll take it.
All right.
So, what a special guy he is. Amazing person. I owe so much to him. So first, when he told me that he was leaving, my first thought was, I want your job.
Transparency.
Then my second conversation was, hey, Peter, I want Troy's job. So, but yeah, I think he thought this was a good time for him to progress in his career and move on. And I think he's, gotten what he's wanted and moving on to assistant role in New York Red Bull. And he'll be very successful wherever he goes, whatever he does. So those are definitely my thoughts. I don't know. I can't speak for you, but that's what I was thinking.
I love that.
I'm glad you wanted the job, Zach. Yeah, Billy, I think, Troy and I, Troy will always be our first head coach. And I think we all love the way he came in here. He's not from here, but he made it his home on day one and really dove all the way in and gave so much back. So that's all we can really ask for. And so Troy and I also have a great relationship. We were I go to all the games. We talked almost every single day. So it wasn't a shock, and look, at the end of the day, I think, it worked out for everybody, right? Troy has a great assistant job coach with the New York Red Bulls. Zach Prince has really worked hard, not just during the 3 years here, but all the other experiences he's had as a player and a coach. So, we're in a really good place. Part of that was Troy bringing in a strong support staff. That's what we need to do. We always have to be bringing in strong people so that we can be the best. So I'm really glad that we were able to do it. And now Zach has brought in assistant coaches that are also really strong, that maybe one day, we'll either be sitting up here or working with another team. That's what we want. We want people to have positive outcomes. Troy had one, Zach had one, and all these coaches have had them, and that's what we're going to keep building.
Jerry, you had your hand up?
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on what Billy brought up, Troy came in and he was exceptional, smart, and revolutionary, and amazing, and kind of set us off in the way that he did a lot of, like, say, forward thinking, 3-5-2s, kind of really pushing the forward, and pushing the field up the field. I'm curious what your philosophy is on the new team, how we're going to play formations or whatever, and that may come from, coffee with Zach or whatever, but my curiosity is really how we're going to attack and how all these new players come in, and if it's a little bit more defensive and we march up the field, or if we just go for it and we get up the field and we go at it.
So a couple things with that. I think we, over the course of 3 years, we have changed our style. Our style has changed a little bit. First year, extremely explosive. Left a little bit more players up the field to counterattack because you had more players that could run with the ball. But maybe defensively we weren't quite where we needed to be. And so year 2 kind of go more of a defensive route, and then year 3 try to diversify. And I think where we can improve from year 3 to year 4 is this. We weren't diverse enough in how we attacked. A lot of our play, in my opinion, and you guys have your own opinion, and I think that's important, but a lot of our play was underneath. You saw a lot of play that was underneath, and it was a lot of in front of the defensive line. And so what I wanted to do is bring in players that could do both. They could stretch the line and get in behind. They could also play underneath and have that skill set as well. When you have players like Weehan and Sergio, Nico Brett can kind of do both, which is exceptional. Now you have players like Preston that can really stretch the line. Josh Suggs from wide areas can really stretch the line. So my deal is this. I don't want for someone to look at New Mexico United ever and say, if we eliminate this, then we're successful. I think they have to think about a couple different things in order for them to be able to be successful against us. So bring in the players that we brought in. I think we've done that. Now it's our time to go and try and prove that. Going back to my philosophy on how I look at the game. I was an extremely aggressive player. I'm an extremely aggressive coach when it comes to my style. I always want us to be front-footed, leaning forward, keeping teams pinned in, creating multiple attacks from one attack. So what that means is we focus a lot on when we have the ball in the high block, what are our defenders doing in those types of moments? So when the ball comes back out, boom, we're right back on top of them. So creating 2 and 3 and 4 attacks, it's a game of attrition at that point. You're going to create enough good chances to where you can go and score goals. Now it's the piece of getting to the high block. That can be a little bit more pragmatic at times. So saying that, I think with this, will it evolve from game 1 to the final game of the season? For sure. If we're not, we're losing. We're losing and we're being lazy as a staff. We always have to evolve and see what these players are doing and how they can create better opportunities for us offensively and defensively. And we're still learning all these new players and the players that have been here, asking them to do new things. So I'm excited about that, and I hope that answered your question, Jerry. But I'm really excited about all these players getting to prove themselves in front of you guys coming on March 13th.
Thanks, Zach.
Yeah.
And a similar question, we had a couple different versions of this from a couple different people, but asking about kind of the rigidity or fluidity of the starting 11. How much do you expect that to change from match to match? Do you expect to have a typical starting 11? Do you expect to have that rotating a lot?
So we're really careful about making sure that each game we're not putting a player in a position where he's going to damage himself physically. We have players, if you guys have seen in some of the training sessions, we have players hooked up to GPS units, so we know how much ground they're covering. Mac does a lot of work on that and creating their loads for how much they're playing and what's the safe amount for them to play. So saying that we're every game looking to put the correct 11 on the field to go and win. That's what we're looking for. Is that starting 11 fluid? For sure. Sometimes players outperform other players and then they get their opportunity, and that's their opportunity to shine. In moments, Chris Wehan at one moment was not a starter. And he got his chance and he took it wherever he was. He did that the same here in 2019. He took that chance. And so there will be other players that maybe don't start game 1 and then game 16, they take their chance. And that's important for us to always recognize that just because a guy hasn't played a few games does not mean his quality isn't there. He just hasn't gotten his chance at that particular time. So going into that with systems of play, 3-4-3, 4-4-2 diamond, whatever you want to call it, we're a principle-based team. And so what that means is we have a really good idea of the spaces that we want to create, the number of advantages that we want to create on the field, and where we want to attack on the field. So that means sometimes we're going to play different systems. And that excites me. That doesn't scare me. That doesn't mean that we're being reactionary, saying, we lost this week, maybe we need to change. We're going to change if that's the best solution for the next week, not because we were reacting off of what happened in the previous week. So I'm excited for you guys to see those different types of things that we're trying to do. In the preseason games, you saw the lineups. They're not a schematic. I do that for opposition so they don't see what we're putting out there. So I know you guys don't like that. And Josh Lane tells me, we should probably put a schematic, and I'm like, well, that's your job to deal with those guys. I don't want to tell the opponent what we're doing quite yet, and so they can see that firsthand. And so that's the way I kind of think about these things. And I'm really, again, just excited to finally get to Isotopes and get this thing rolling, man.
Is it fair to say those are your principles?
Boo!
I did not come up with that. Chanel texted me that.
All right, yeah.
Oh, it's good when she does it. Okay.
Yeah, Chanel, brilliant. Genius.
Great. David.
This question is for Pete. So, being a proud supporter, one of the things that I took pride in with the club is seeing all these recognitions and awards, like from the league, for instance, top merchandise sales, best in social media, and whatnot. To me, those are like great bonuses. Were those things that kind of became because of the product and the club and everything, all the talent that's around it? And once you get it, is that something you want to kind of shoot for in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really good question, and there's a lot of ways to answer that. But first of all, I would think that in general, a lot of those awards are more of a residual of the process than the straight out goal. We talk a lot about optimizing outcome as opposed to optimizing profits. I think if you focus on the why and you optimize those outcomes and you have those goals be residual of the process, you can make money too. I mean, we are a business, so we do need to sustain ourselves. But I'm really proud of the team. Yes, we do want to be number one in merch. We do want to be number one, which we are, by the way. So by a lot. Thanks to everybody in this room. Look around, right? So awesome. We want to be number one in tickets, and we're number 2 behind Louisville. So we're gonna go catch those guys in their fancy new stadium. And number 1 in everything, corporate sponsorships. And I was talking with Justin Papadakis, who's him and his dad actually are the owners of the USL. And he was talking about markets and how new owners are coming in saying, hey, I want to be in the best market available. And he's like, how do we define that? Who would have said New Mexico would be the best market for USL Championship? And that's just something he said today. And he's right. We are the best because of what we've done. And so if we weren't number 1 in all those categories, that's okay. That's not why we're here. But, man, it does feel good to be at the top. And let's keep pushing it forward.
Yeah, either one.
Maybe 100%.
You on that, Josh? You got
Yeah.
that? David was asking, what are the chances that we get an Omega Mart 3rd kit? And Pete said 100%, by the way, so I guess we're doing that. Not only does Pete leak, Pete just makes things up.
But we follow through.
Yeah. I saw a hand back here. Yeah, go ahead.
So for Zach, who's going to be behind Tim Bacchus now that Nico Brett trash him?
So the question, which I will rephrase, Who's going to be backing up? Who's going to be our other goalkeeper on the roster now that Phil has gone to another team?
We got a Zach league.
It'll be announced soon. It'll be announced very, very soon. Very soon. Maybe.
You should ask me. Don't ask people.
I don't really heard anything about Devin. What's the status on Devin? Is he going to play?
Devin and I are in constant communication. He is a foundational piece of this club. We love the guy and support the guy, and he is doing some rehab and going through some things like that, and we're supporting him so much. Right now, he's doing a great job. He's working with our academy kids, which is so special. He's been out at virtually junior. I think he's been out at every academy session so far, really working with those kids, and we're just seeing how he progresses. And it's just it's not an ACL. It's not an ankle. It's a different. And so we just got to take our time. That's all we're trying to do is just take our time and see where he is, and not only that, but support him through this time. And because it's a strange situation. So we love him, and I think so highly of him as a person and a human being. And so I'm in talk to him constantly. So excited for him and whatever his future holds. Whether it's getting back on the field or whether it's coaching in the future or doing whatever he wants to do, he's going to be extremely successful.
Have you seen him since he got his haircut?
I have.
Yes.
There you go.
Always be closing, Ben. Always be closing.
I'll give this day.
But just to echo what Zach's saying there, we all love Devin. Devin, as Zach said, is a foundational piece of our club, and the most important thing we can do is just be aware of his safety and his health, right? As much as every single one of us wants to see him out there scoring goals, most importantly, we want him to be healthy, regardless of where that is or how that is. Okay, other hands, Lindsay.
Zach, this one's for you. Troy was recognized as, best dressed coach in the league. What will we be seeing as your style on the pitch? Just as a TiVo artist, would like to know,
So the question is asking Zach a little bit about his sideline style.
Zero transparency on that. It'll be game day. You'll have to see it on game day. So, no, I think with that, I think what's important about that is a couple things. I think knowing the position that you're in, you should dress for that. And so I think it's important to look extremely professional when you're on the sidelines because you're representing, the best club in the USL. And so saying that, I plan on to present myself in a way that's extremely professional, hopefully for you guys.
I heard Troy left behind his skinny neckties. I heard a rumor of that.
So no Bill Belichick for Zach Prince. Go ahead, Wes.
Will we be at full capacity this year in the lab?
Will we be at full capacity this year in the lab? Yes. That's an easy one. Yes.
Let's
100%.
fill it up.
We're at 100% capacity. Get your ass to the stadium and bring your friends. All right. Cool. I saw several other hands. Go ahead.
So mine's a little bit more about continuing to build the community. So, with everything happening with the pandemic and kind of shutting down the first year, me and my family were very much about it. And then things were what they were, and going into last year, we kind of were, still excited about it. And my wife saw, we got involved with like the field setup, which gave us an opportunity to be a lot more involved. My wife's like, hey, chance to go to a game, and from there we've gotten incredibly involved, and met a ton of people and a lot of friends, and which encouraged us to get into supporters groups and more involved. Tie that in with a lot of what went down with the stadium and seeing a lot of the people that were opposed to it, and then as well I was at the Black Diamonds Somos Unidos Foundation event this last week, and seeing how much that meant to all the people that were there. Like what other kinds of potential plans are there for continuing to build and show the community like what the club is about and how great it really is. Because as someone who I wouldn't say I was a skeptic, but someone who wasn't 100% all in all the way, like what other plans are there to help build the club even bigger and show everyone how great it is.
Yeah, I want to touch on that a little bit before I hand the mic over to you guys. But I think first and foremost, we start with what Peter mentioned earlier, which is we start with the why and not the what, Yes, we want to impact the community, but why? Why do we want to be the club that we are? And it's to improve our state, to provide opportunities for people that have never had them, to uplift the state in ways that it's never been done before. So we start with that, and then I'm going to put it back on you guys. What do you want to see? What is the thing as the supporter-led club that we claim to be, that we want to be, that we strive to be? What do you want to see in your community? What do you want to see driving this forward and making our community a better place? So that's a real question. That's not rhetorical. Please throw it at me. What do you want to see in the community?
I mean, I can say for myself, simply, taking the whole family out to a game, parking, food, all of that, that little bit of opportunity to kind of help be a part of the team kind of meant a lot. And I'm the dad in the family, so my wife was like, awesome, you love sports, but we got other priorities. But actually being able to be involved in that really kind of got her on board, and she's really about it. And being able to, like this weekend when we saw the kids out there, seeing all those kids, $65, $90 is not that's a lot of money to a lot of people, and seeing all those kids being able to get a jersey and a ball, and meet like Chanel was saying, academy players that are like their big brothers and stuff, compared to grown-ups. Like the first team is like making them realize this is potentially something that's a lot more achievable than they otherwise might think. That's a lot of the stuff that I personally want and have seen, and so
yeah. I mean, I think what you're hitting on there is building a community and building a partnership, and I think that's what we do. We do that by working together, community, club, fans, all together. We that's nothing that Pete can do by himself, or Zach can do by himself, or even the three of us can do by himself, or every staff member in here can do by themselves combined. It takes everybody in this room and much more. The way that we make this more than a soccer club is by working together to what the analogy that Chanel likes to use is to be the white blood cells and go where there's need, and to provide for our community, uplift our state in the ways that it needs it. And sometimes that's with a clinic, like we saw this weekend, which was incredible, 130 plus kids out there when we had 11 kids at the same event last year. It was amazing. Sometimes it's that. Sometimes it's our holiday tour, where we go around to different parts of the state. Sometimes it's the U23. Now we're playing home matches around the state and allowing everybody to see this isn't Albuquerque United. It's New Mexico United. That changes depending upon the day. That changes depending upon the minute. But we need to be flexible, we need to be nimble, and we need to respond to the needs in our state and uplift it at every opportunity we have. Sometimes that's just winning a soccer game. You guys want to add to that? All right.
It was good.
Cool. What else, guys?
All right.
Chris.
Kind of a different question, but Zach and Peter, if you want to chime in on it, just what's your mind on increasing BIPOC in coaching and or front office as well? And what are your plans to kind of contribute to that effort this year?
So the question for those who didn't hear it is the club's plans on essentially improving BIPOC representation in the game, both at a technical level and a front office level. Did I get that right? Cool.
I think with this, just giving people more opportunity is all across the board is incredibly important. It started with us giving more opportunity with Diversity Fellowship Program, and I think continuing that is so important on the technical side that I can control, but also talking to the people that come in from the front office side as well, and having them involved with the technical side, but keeping that going and making that real and making it something that's not just a placeholder. So creating real opportunity for real jobs for people to come in and have, I think is that's the critical opportunity. Not saying that we're going to do this just because something happened and there was a movement, and the movement's wherever you think it is. We can sustain this for however long and make this whatever we want. So saying that, Chris, and going back to, and this feeds into the question that was just before, what's really unique about this club is having conversations like this. Conversations like this lead to ideas, which leads to execution. So saying that means if you have an idea, if you don't say it, that's on you. That's not on us. So if you have this brilliant idea and you're talking to your friends about it, you're saying, why the hell doesn't New Mexico United do X, Y, Z? You're at the club that will actually go and do it. And we'll actually say, hey, this can't happen right now. Let's hit this in 2023. We'll say that, no problem. Look you in the face and say it. But what we'll do is we'll go and do it, man. That's what this guy's motto is. So if you do, have something that can contribute to this community, that's your responsibility. You need to take that on yourself. So that's my challenge to you guys, not to hold that back and just have something that you're talking to your friends about. It's easy to complain with all your friends about that type of stuff. Come to these guys. They're right here. They reach me. They reach Pete every single day. Come to me if you have an idea, and we'll try to go and get it done.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I agree with all that. I mean, honestly, I think everybody in this room would agree that, you know, we want to create a meritocracy, right? Where people are put in a position because they've earned it. We can't have it until we have equal opportunity, true equal opportunity, not just top-down equal opportunity. So what we need to do is create platforms for people to get the tools and the skill sets so that when they get in a head coaching position, it's because they have the skills to succeed. It's no use putting someone in that position if they're going to be overwhelmed because they've never been trained up. And so we've got to just create equal opportunity for everybody. And that's a long road, but we just got to keep marching and do little by little by little. So we're committed to doing everything we can, and we're going to march forward till we have a true meritocracy in this country and with this club.
And bouncing off of what Pete said, that is the purpose of the Diversity Fellowship Program, to be very clear. The DFP exists because we are well aware that within sport, within soccer, particularly here in the United States, people of color and women are not given the opportunities from a starting point, from a midpoint, at any of those points that straight white men are given. And so the DFP, I'm sure you all are aware of it, but it provides a lot of things. On-the-job training is a big part of it. But in addition to that, it's a stipend to cover a coaching license on the coaching side or continuing education on the front office side, because the biggest barrier to access, and what we've been told every time we dig into this, the biggest barrier to access is financial. So how can we fight that? So to Zach's earlier point, when you've got an idea, come to us. That came from an idea. The whole DFP, we're the first club to do that. The DFP came from an idea and a recognition that people of color and women in this country are not given the opportunities that straight white men are given. So how do we fight that? How do we build from the ground up? How do we provide those opportunities? Because there are only 3 USL Championship coaches of color in the entire league. That's a problem. So how do we fight that? We do things like the DFP and we continue to grow. So I echo Zach's point. Come talk to us. You got ideas, let us know. We started with the DFP. It's a great starting point. We're going to continue to grow it, but we can always do more. Cool? Chanel? Our fourth host?
Come back up.
You don't hate to come up.
No, I really do.
Just get a stool, Chanel.
It's
Come join us.
because there are some other tactical things too that I think you'll hear us talk about this year, relating to and specifically saying in the ways that the DFP is also limited and still trying to figure out what we can do, right, like on our own. But I think it's important we're having this conversation. In developing a community coaching model, in the same way, now we've seen this huge success with community clinics. That's a less intensive of like, you know, the academy is obviously a much higher level. Community clinics reach a kid maybe once or twice a year because we're trying to reach so many. So how do we reach coaches or people that are even, you know, having the first twinkle in their eye about potentially becoming a coach someday? That they have no business applying for the Diversity Fellowship Program yet. So how do we sort of deputize some of our coaches or somebody like David Estrada, who has just such a handle on the ethos of what it means to be a coach, and also serve our purpose of doubling the number of kids in our high performance program, which is another lighter touch training model. So if we can pair coaches up with more kids, then now we're coaching more kids, having an influence a little bit on the education of some coaches. Now, that all requires funding, that all requires personnel, but community coaching as the parallel to the academy and the community clinic to the academy is absolutely on our mind. Also, the player to front office pipeline does really great stuff for racial equity, but doesn't do very much in gender equity. If you think about how very few there are professional women players in contrast with how many professional male players there are. So also looking at, yes, there needs to be that pipeline to get into the door of the front office, but how are we cultivating the leadership development and leadership display of women once they're in the organization so that they can be club presidents one day too? So those are the things you'll be seeing us talk about more this year. Thank you for the question.
Well said. Cole.
So I don't want to completely change the topic with all the beautiful stuff.
We're jumping around. It's all good.
I know, but kind of getting back to playing style and tactics, and I know it's kind of been asked a few times in similar ways. But I guess specifically, you've been here for 3 seasons, obviously with the previous staff. And a cup has been our goal kind of every season, right? And so I guess specifically, what would you critique from those first 3 seasons that you were here that you would like to actually change about this season?
And for those in the back, Cole's question was something to the effect of, and please correct me if I get this wrong, but something to the effect of, Cup's been the goal for the first 3 years. What's going to be different under Zach than in the previous administration? Is that a fair summation?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I think first things first is the first thing that I identified was personnel-wise, I wanted to get more athletic. I wanted to have ability to go and play a team, whatever team it was, and I did not want to go out on the field and say we lack athleticism, so we have to play this thing perfectly. If we lose the ball in transition here, we don't have the guys that are able to run. We don't have the guys that are able to cover the ground. We don't have the guys in a game that you're playing against a team that pumps it long a lot. They're not able to win majority of those second ball moments. So I said, I got to find more people, more guys that can come in and execute that. If that's what I'm asking, I got to ask the guys to go and do that can do it. So that's the first thing. The second thing was attacking wise. I think we got this really right in 2019. And I think we shied away from it a little bit, where we're able to diversify our attack a little bit more down the middle of the field, able to stretch the game from wide areas centrally. I think we've played a little too wide in the last 2 years, where we're getting the ball in wide spots often, but we're not having more interior passes, getting playmakers on the ball more often. This is all easy to say, guys. It's easy for me to paint a picture for you guys and say, this is what I'm trying to do. The hard part is going and executing it. This is what we're trying to do right now in preseason, through preseason, and talking about these things, small group videos, individual videos, to try to paint the picture for these guys and say, this is where you can show your quality the best. And so not ask someone to do something that they're not as comfortable with, and saying, just because of my ego and my style, I want you to do this. No, this suits you the best to be able to go and execute for us. So without getting too detailed into it, that's how I thought about it. And I'm just in the place now where we're getting closer and closer. Even each preseason game is getting a little bit more serious. You can tell guys are stop tinkering with their lineups as much. They're playing whoever their guys are a little bit more longer in games, and so it's fun to see that happening and leading up to the 13th. And so I'm excited for this El Paso game. Another challenge for us. Northern Colorado, another challenge, and then it's go time. So I'm excited about that.
And to that point, I think one of the things that I really liked about the Coffee with Coach in 2019, and again what we hope to do this year, is Zach will go through a little bit of the tactics, and then you'll be at the match and say, oh my gosh, that's exactly what he said Mike Azira was going to do. He said, well, hopefully
that's the idea.
Or you know why he's yelling at Mike Azira.
Yeah, that's right. Why is Zach pissed off? Oh, because Mike was supposed to do that.
Yeah. Lay off of Mike.
Not Mike.
Lay off of Mike.
Specifically not Mike.
It's Christian. It's Christian.
It's Christian. Why is Christian doing that? Yeah. But no, I really did enjoy that in 2019. It allowed you to see into the mind of somebody who knows the game a heck of a lot better than I would have known. And so I'm thinking, oh my God, that's exactly what Troy said. Oh my God, that's exactly what Zach said. It's exciting. That's my favorite thing about that. All right. Sombrero Child.
Only for 3 more days.
I'm going to say it as long as I can.
2 questions, if you don't mind me asking. First question, you said we're going full goal this year. Super excited about that. One thing I really enjoyed about 2019 season was, of course, the international friend with their friends in Wales of Cardiff City. So I'm going to not look at David because he's probably going to give a desperate picture. I'm going to look at Peter.
Pete's not getting the mic on this.
Is there any, and you don't have to say any opponent, but is there anything in the works for us fans to look forward to, maybe an international friendly this year?
I know what 3 words you're going to say, but go ahead.
What, we're doing it?
Yeah, that's what you always say.
No. look, I would love. The Cardiff game was amazing, right? Because it showed, hey, let's go compete with a club that's been around for 100 years, and I would love to do more of that. You know, this year, right now, we don't have anything scheduled, so that will be the leak. It's not great news. There's a couple reasons, but frankly, one of them is just facilities. You know, we don't have a place to play that kind of game, and that's okay. That's where we are right now. So we're going to keep pushing forward to expand our facilities. You know, Zach talked about the locker room. We didn't have a locker room until this year. You know, we were changing in corporate offices, frankly. We were converting spaces to locker rooms. Now we have one. You know, now we have a practice field. Now we can have a place to have some preseason games. Maybe eventually we get some stands out there and can do smaller Open Cup games. So we just have to create some facilities so we can have, you know, full programming. And I'd love it if every year we were just playing, you know, a Sister City Cup, or we were playing other games that just felt important. And then hosting games where we're not playing, but we're watching a women's national team game, or we're watching maybe, you know, World Cups in America, and you know, Ghana is playing, you know, Brazil, and it's in Albuquerque. And that's the kind of things that we need to be dreaming of and aspiring to.
Open Cup is this year, so there.
Yeah, and Open Cup, you know, that's the other one. Zach just made the point. You know, you've got your 17 home matches, and we're adding at least one more. We want to hopefully host more than one Open Cup match, and we want to host some playoff games. I want us to get to 20 home matches this year. That'd be incredible. You got a second one? You're still standing.
Second one. So for maybe people that haven't been to a game, more specifically over here, Coach, how would you say? No. How would you try and get a newer fan that maybe hasn't attended a game yet? Peter, what would you have to say to a fan that maybe hasn't attended a game yet?
So the question for those in the back, for both Pete and Zach, how would you describe the game experience? Talk to a fan who has never, or I guess a would-be fan who hasn't been to a game yet.
So saying that, I think there's a couple different things. First is my experience just being out on the field as an assistant and showing what you guys give. I played in a game against Cincinnati when they were in the USL. 32,000 people is their first home playoff game. Doesn't hold a candle to a regular season game in Albuquerque. The amount of attention that's put on in the game, building out of something, you see there's pressure, we build out, we have an attack from it. The appreciation from the build out to the attack is there because the attention being paid on the field. So big tackle, big block. In Cincinnati, it was more of goal scoring moments or just big opportunities that you saw the crowd really get up. It's so engaged. Second thing is this. The reality of the situation is the sports industry is entertainment. I mean, that's what it's there for. So my job is to coach, but my job is also to make sure we're putting a product on the field that you can be proud of, but also that's going to make you get up and get excited about what's happening on the field. So when we look at how we're going to attack and how we're going to be explosive and these different things, I think, I mean, in the back of my mind is thinking, how are we going to get people out of their seats and be exciting in this and make sure that you say that, and we just need to make sure that we're always thinking about that as our staff, of how we're not going to be a boring team. We don't want to be that. We want to execute and make sure that we're, you know, putting a product on the field that can win, but at the same time, we want to be fun as well. So,
yeah.
Pete, anything on that? Good.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. I mean, I think, look, if you love soccer, like what Zach just talked about, we have an amazing product on the field. If you've never been to a soccer match, you don't know any of the rules, you come anyways because it's not really about soccer. It's about coming together as New Mexicans and seeing what that looks like. And it looks pretty beautiful. And it's only, you know, your presence there is a reason why it is what it is. So come on out and experience it.
All right, Rob, you said we had a question on Instagram Live?
Yeah, so we have a pretty popular one that keeps popping up, and it's will we have open trials for local talent, or are we more focused on over 50?
So the question on Instagram Live was, will we have open trials for local talent? And Jerry specifically wants to try out for the over 50 team. Yeah, Jerry, just be out there like midnight on like Thursday. We'll meet you there. You wanna hit on
Yeah, sure.
So,
Don't go, Jerry.
If Jerry's coming, no, we're not having open trials. So the reality is this is how I think about open trials. First, I think about who is the best 14-year-old in the state right now, and how are we going to make sure that he's involved in our academy. That's how I feel about our open trials. How are we going to sign the next player that's in Albuquerque right now? For the players that are a little bit older than that, we'll have trials for our U23 team, and that's a way for them to get in. But as far as the first team, transparency is key on this, and the answer is no, we're not going to have open trials this year. So, but saying that, the way the club is built right now and the way we're progressing is we're trying to make sure these local talent, these kids aren't leaving town, aren't going to the Colorado Rapids, aren't going in Junro stealing kids and going to Austin FC, and making sure they're staying here in Albuquerque with their families, staying here in Las Cruces if they're in Las Cruces, and making sure that they're getting the correct transportation into Albuquerque. That's where my focus is on making sure this talent sustains here. And that's why it's incredible about our programming being free. It's no financial barrier to enter. It's an incredible moment for our club to make sure that we're offering that to our kids, and then also providing them an experience to try to prove themselves so they can go and maybe progress on to the first team, but really set themselves up to be, positive impacts on our community later in life. That's what our academy is built on, and so that's where I look at open trials. I really look at who's that 14-year-old, who's that 13-year-old that's out there, and they're going and recruiting all over the state. And so I'm excited to see those kids progress on in our academy.
And I think there's an important distinction to be made between team and club, right? The first team is the team. The club includes the first team, the academy, the U23s, the HPP. Because of the establishment of all of those things, we have more entry points into this club for players at varying ages and varying levels than we have ever had in the past. So I think it's important to point out as well. Jerry? No to the U50 over 50 team, Jerry.
I'm ready. Anytime you guys are ready, sign me. How much is Nava ready for the next level to be cracking into the top 11? And who's after him? Who's coming behind him?
So the two-parter from Jerry for those in the back. How is Christian Nava ready is kind of the first part of the question to really start cracking into the starting 11 more. And then who is the next Christian Nava? If I could figure that out, I'd probably make a lot more money.
So the first question with Christian in general, Christian, first of all, is a very bright, extremely hardworking kid. So this kid comes in and has proved himself at every turn. Every single time he's asked a question, he goes and he proves again that he belongs in this group, in this team. So I think this experience of him being with the first team throughout preseason and not being the academy kid that's training with the first team, but him being a contracted first team player, completely different experience for him. And so saying that, with kids that come in, it's very important that you have patience. Patience is key in these situations. And you're not judging them so hard on 3 or 4 days of training, and you're guiding them and helping them and making them make better decisions on the field, off the field. But when that happens, am I scared to play Christian in a moment? Absolutely not. He's proved that he can handle, about 8 to 10 minutes in a USL game, and he's fine. He's created a couple chances. Clearly, we can see he's a very clever player, has a natural attacking talent, very instinctual defensively, which, he's a little like terrier out there. He's a pit bull. He doesn't let anyone, it's so difficult to get past him. And so saying that, Christian's going to get opportunities this year. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But this preseason has been so massive for him to mature and as a player. And so saying that, being patient is key. You guys being patient is key. And so saying he has a very high ceiling, and I'm so thrilled to be working with him. And this is his pure focus right now, and excited to see where it can go for him. As far as the next player, we have a player training with us right now, 2 players actually. Andres Robles, incredible talent. This kid, spatial awareness, him being able to play in between players, face forward, create passes, does it better at a higher level than some of our first team players. We did a presentation the other day and highlighted some of Andres' movement in the last game because it was so good. And so that's where he is. He's in a phenomenal position, and he's progressing and doing really well with the academy. I'm excited for him to be in a real leadership role this year with the academy and see what he can do with that. We also have another kid, Dane Gallegos. He's coming off an injury. He's going to be training with us as well, and then also Taylor Rogers. So those three kids, incredibly excited for them in that opportunity, for them to be able to train, and then obviously Christian be able to play in games this year is going to be really fun for them.
How many of you guys went to an academy match last year? If you went to an academy match last year, you probably knew about Christian Nava early. You might have seen Dane Gallegos. You might have seen Andres Robles or Taylor Rogers. This is why it's so cool to go to these academy matches and these U23 matches. You're going to see the United Stars of tomorrow. We saw Christian Nava when he was an academy player, and then he made his way up to academy contract, and now he's got a full-time first-team contract, and he's a hero to a lot of people in the state. You can see that next person. It's so cool. It's also really accessible. I mean, we're going to do it around the state, obviously, for the U23s, but I mean, it's so simple to get out to Mesa del Sol when you can, and it's so much fun and so intimate, and also it means the world to these boys to have someone out there cheering for them and knowing their names.
Have you ever thought of putting them out at halftime, the academy, and play against each other, just like at halftime, to just give them more exposure in the stadium? Just an idea that just came to me right now.
You mean to like kind of have like a halftime activation?
Yeah, just at halftime, just to give them that moment in front of everyone and give them that like, you know, that gut, you know, that
Yeah.
like, I wanna go
It's
for
just
that.
hard because at halftime a lot of the subs are out there shooting the ball and take, you know, the field's not
Pete's
open
shooting
like
off
that.
fireworks. He's launching through cannons. Where does that give him the space to do that?
But it's a good idea.
You know, and then it just, you know, maybe before a game, if they have it on a Sunday, do something at halftime for them, just to give them that.
So the idea behind that would be, you're good. The idea behind that would be, can we get them at Isotopes Park for a massive game? That would be excellent to bring in someone, and maybe it could be a ticketed game that, you know, sells for Somos Foundation. These are the kind of ideas, but with that, guys, it all comes down to facility. You know what I mean? And timing and all those types of things. Is the field right? Are we allowed to be on? And so those are things that we would love to do. But we got to take it one step at a time. I think that's a phenomenal idea.
It's a great idea, and again, as a fundraiser for the foundation, I love it. But to Zach's point, it'll be so much more clear-cut when we have a facility of our own. We can do that kind of thing, right? We don't have to ask permission. Looking forward to not having to ask permission on stuff. The Isotopes are incredible hosts, and they're so helpful to us, and we're so grateful for their partnership. But it'll be really cool to have our own space and say, you know what, we are going to do an academy match, and we can make that decision. Looking forward to that. Cool.
I just wanted to add on to that. Might I suggest, like, during a time when there's no other footy to watch, like international breaks or something like that. So, like, if we're all just kind of chomping at the bit, like, what do we have to watch right now? There's no footy on. Like, everyone's kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah.
Then maybe we have a academy match.
Cole's suggestion was trying to get academy matches scheduled around international breaks. Love the idea. You know, one of the things that we also look for when we talk about, you know, again, this is down the road, but when we talk about international friendlies, potentially international break stuff, that makes sense as well. Again, that's further down the road, but 100% agree with that. All right, we got time for a couple more. Zach has a 1-year-old at home. Chris.
So, like a while back, we were obviously surveyed as season ticket holders about, like, you know, what we liked about the package, what we thought would be different. Just kind of curious, like, the results of that and kind of what we can look forward to, because, I mean, in supporter groups, we're obviously trying to, you know, manifest bigger supporters groups and, like, add to the family through all the groups we have. So just kind of curious, like, what that is, so we can kind of know how to promote that.
So you're looking for kind of what we saw in the results of the survey we sent out to season ticket holders?
Yeah, when we can find out what that's going to be like, because I know that's a big part in our conversation.
I'm looking back at our ticket folks. I'm guessing they don't know that off the top of their heads. Yeah, so the question was, so we sent out a survey to season ticket holders about what worked well with the season ticket package, what didn't work well with the season ticket package. Sam, I'm looking at you a little bit. Do you have some info you want to come and share? I can say it for a third time. That's fine. So there was a survey sent out at the end of last year regarding the season ticket package and what worked, what didn't work, what you liked, what didn't you like. Any feedback that we got on that we think would be particularly interesting to share?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that we saw was something that's already been brought up, and it was getting back to year one and access to the players and the coaches and being more involved on that end. And I think Zach kind of mentioned it perfectly that we want to get back to that. Obviously, the big one last year was also the price, and I know people last year was what it was with COVID and doing the 10-match plans, but I think David was also a big part of that, of putting together a pricing model that I think makes sense moving forward. And I think this year, with getting out of COVID and being able to get back to more of what we did in year one, I think that's really what was all of the service.
Yeah. So did everybody catch that, what Sam said there? Kind of, the summation of it, and Sam, please feel free to correct me, was we're hearing you, we're listening to you, and a couple of things were access to players and staff. That was crucial, and it was tough to do during COVID. Obviously, COVID is not completely gone yet, but we're moving away from it. We're moving in the right direction, and we're providing that access on a bigger level. Stuff like this is a big part of that. Stuff like Coffee with Coach is a big part of that. We absolutely hear you on that, and we're going to do that. Another part of that was pricing. Pricing during 2021 was tougher because there were no season tickets available. That made it tougher because you don't get that season ticket discount. We worked really hard to make our tickets some of the most affordable in the USL. Over a third of the stadium is less than $20. No other USL team can say that. We hear you guys. We listen to you guys. And that's why it's so crucial to bring these things to us, because some things I like to think I get a decent pulse. But there's other things that I have no idea. Pete has no idea. Zach has no idea. None of us do unless you tell us. So that survey was hugely helpful. Those two ways in particular, I'm sure there are others, but those immediately come to mind. We hear you. We listen to you. You're what makes us go. So if you bring something to us, we're gonna look on it. We're gonna act on it. We're gonna do our best. All right. Last question of the night. Who's got it?
Lucas.
No, Lucas. Zach is not running your set piece. Next question. Rachel.
What are your plans for safety in the supporter section? I think that it's great that we're allowing whoever to come in because we're expanding our family. But to be honest, sometimes it's folks who haven't been there before that are throwing beer or starting fights or vaping in the stadium. They just don't know and they're not invested. So, it got a little bucky sometimes, a little dangerous sometimes. So, thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's and we've talked about this a lot tonight, but a collective effort, right? So we need to take steps, and we need to rely on everybody else to take steps too, right? So it's policing each other. You see somebody throwing a beer, talk to them. And that's not necessarily everybody's individual responsibility, but in addition to that, we, as stewards of the game and stewards of your experience, need to be aware of that too. So it's working with Isotope Security in those situations and saying, you see somebody throwing a beer, get them out. I mean, it's really that simple for lots of reasons. One, the most important one, safety. Two, we can get fined for that. We've gotten talking to in the past. You remember in 2019, I got cut on the face with a bottle. It was not fun. So we are doing everything we can to work directly with Isotopes. Ultimately, the security staff who work their tails off are their employees. But it needs to be a collaborative effort with us, with Isotopes, with fans, all of us together taking responsibility on that. And then in addition to that, if you see something, talk to us. Talk to security. There's pretty much always one of us down there on the field around the supporter section as well. Talk to whoever is capoing that game, and they can reach out to us individually if you don't see club personnel there. It's a collective effort. And then in addition to that, we did the wristbanding last year, which I think was largely successful. We want to continue doing that so we don't oversell the supporter section and people aren't jumping all over each other on top of each other. With that said, the supporter section is a rowdy time intentionally. It's fun, it's different, it's loud. Inhaling smoke bombs is not fun, but it's also fun. It's supposed to be exciting and feel a little bit dangerous. It's supposed to be that way. So I think it's important when you buy your tickets to know, hey, this is what I'm getting into. We have that disclaimer on the ticketing website. This is a little bit rowdier. It may not be great for all ages. It's just something to be aware of. That doesn't mean we disrespect each other. But just know what you're getting into when you get in the supporter section. It's a little rowdy, and we like it that way. Anything you guys want to say? All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us. This is the first time we've done it, but it won't be the last. One last thing before you go. We're running, our ticketing guys back here sent this to me. We're running this thing right now. It's a contest. Go ahead and scan that QR code if you want. Get a friend. Bring a friend to opening night. If you bring a friend to opening night with that QR code, down there on the bottom right where it says enter a coupon code, have them enter 2022. One person, can I, what? Oh, I hate that. Okay, give me a minute.
It's on David's computer.
You can also scan my laptop. I gotta get it under the thing. Is that gonna work? Hold on. Is that gonna work? How's that? All right, cool. So send this to your friends. Have them enter coupon code 2022-2022. One fan, actually two fans, one pair of fans. So you, if it's you, and the person you recommend, one group will win will each win a signed jersey. So that's 2 signed jerseys, team signed jerseys we're giving away. Bring somebody who's never been to a game before. We want to pack the lab. We want 15,000 on opening night if we can get it. And again, we have this collective responsibility. We want to get to the levels that we've had. We want to be, we are proud of this community. We want this community to be proud of us and to see an export to the world. New Mexico is full of winners. We're going after a cup this year. I want to thank Zach and Pete for being here tonight. Thank you all so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Awesome, man.
Good job.